senseless, amateurish, elongated blancmange, which I found difficult to sit through. And I do say that as someone who thought that Get Out was something special, which was, of course, Jordan Peele's entree as a director. So O.J. Hayward, played by Daniel Kaluuya's father, Otis Jr., Keith David plays Otis Sr., dies in bizarre circumstances. He's just broken in a horse on his ranch outside Los Angeles, and then this incident appears to come from the heavens and is precipitated by a strange stillness. And Otis Sr. was an animal wrangler on movie sets. Now his son and daughter played by Keke Palmer, known as Emerald, they've taken over the business. Mind you, O.J. Hayward, is not a big talker, certainly not a front man. Emerald is flighty. The financial challenges of maintaining the ranch have seen O.J. sell off prized horses on the ranch to the owner of a nearby family theme park, whose name is Ricky Jupe Park, played by Stephen Yeun. Park was a former child star, and there was a violent incident in his past that still haunts him today. So now you've got this mysterious, malevolent force continuing to threaten O.J. and Emerald, a force that they can't run from as much as they try. And it takes the form of a UFO that triggers massive wind, rain, and cascading torrents of blood. What the? Okay, you've got the influence of Steven Spielberg, that's evident. You've got westerns, yeah, that's fine. But the packaging does not work. Daniel Kaluuya, who I really usually enjoy immensely, mumbles his way, my voice is gone, pardon me, through the dialogue in an all but catatonic state. And apart from expressing alarm and racing around like an Energizer bunny, I can't say that Keke Palmer had a great hand in progressing the story either. And the other thing I'd say about it, the vision of this UFO, surely it must be a joke. I mean, Dave, you and I spoke about it after the movie. It looks like this stingray with a vacuum cleaner underbelly.
Yeah, so, it looks like something that a kid's art class made out of crepe paper at one point.
Exactly. So this nope is uninspiring, dull, lacking in interest or merit, grave disappointment, and all the more so because it went on for far, 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 far too long. And, you know, you go into the cinema with hope and anticipation. I left so deflated by this. Peter, you'll probably be the recalcitrant one and say, oh, this is a masterpiece, but it's not. It's a piece of, yes, go on, you tell me your thoughts.
Okay, let's talk about this film because it has a number of elements in it which don't completely cohere, and it raises more questions than provides narrative answers.
So is that good or bad, Peter?
It depends because there are.
Is it good or bad?
I don't want to make that pronouncement just yet because I want to talk about some of the elements. I want to talk about, as you mentioned, Spielbergian influences, about some sort of UFO, some sort of otherworldly thing that is looking in a small area of the US to suck up people, so to speak, into its vortex. So the question is why? Why that environment? Why that location? Secondly, the role of horses and the role of Edward Muybridge, who is a very important chromatograph cinematographer in the 19th century.
You better explain chromatograph because there'll be people who don't know what that is.
It's moving photographs. So it's photographs that are put together that look as if they are moving, as if you're seeing it in a cinema, that it's a moving image. And so it's horses moving with a rider on it. And he was a man of colour, an African-American man who's been sort of brushed out of cinema history. And so this film tries to address that by the role of the horses and by the role of the brief footage that we see of Edward Muybridge. Then we have the whole issue of the chimpanzee and the violence that it wreaks.
I suppose we should reference the fact that this is the tragedy that occurred to Ricky Jupe Park.
Yes.
Without going into further detail.
No, and I'm not going to say too much, but it's set in a TV studio. What's the point there? So I'm trying to work out what Jordan Peele was trying to tell us, whether he was making a satire, whether he was making a joke for the audience, so that at the end of the film he will say to everyone, "Ha ha, gotcha," or whether he's doing an M. Night Shyamalan and having these sort of twists and turns in the plot that don't necessarily cohere until the very end, and in this case it doesn't even necessarily cohere at the end of this film either.
And that's the problem that I have with it. I mean, ultimately, you can be too clever by halves, and I reckon that's what's happened here. He's tried to be deep and meaningful, and instead he's lost half the audience, maybe 3/4 or maybe 7/8.
Look, I think it's a film that deserves further analysis. That's why I'm not too
but hang on,
black and white about it.
But wait a second. If you have to speak to the director in terms of, well, what's it all about? Why are you doing it this way, etc.? Okay, you can see that you've been inspired by other filmmakers and history and so on, and that's commendable. But if you go along and you want there to be some semblance of sense here, and that confusion between something that's childlike in terms of creating this absolutely, well, pathetic UFO, you know, compared to some of the other stuff that's far more sophisticated, why? You're left with more questions than answers, and I just don't think that's adequate. I'm sorry.
Does all artwork have an easy answer or easy explanation?
No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. But there are some things that go on and on. I mean, you think about the Tree of Life, which I thought was appalling, and some people thought was a masterpiece and won the best film at Cannes a few years.
A great film, yes.
Yeah, and I couldn't stand it. I was scratching blackboards with my metaphorical blackboard in front of me. You know, I mean, and I know other people who've felt the same way as me. I mean, you like far more bizarre stuff than I do, but I don't mind being stretched, but I want there to be a point, I'm still not clear what the point is. Dave, do you know what the point of Nope is?
Not really. I thought that the whole thing with the chimpanzee was to put in a metaphor for you can never really tame the beast. I thought that was the whole idea. But I also thought there was a few lines in there too that hinted at making money off the beast. So making money off the chimpanzee, making money off the horses that they breed, trying to make money off this UFO, which is a living creature. So you're talking about trying to make money off the beast, and that's never going to work because you can't tame a beast. But I just find this film ridiculous in the sense. I've always been kind of critical of Jordan Peele. I think he's an overrated director, sorry. I thought Get Out kind of tripped itself up too many times. I thought Us was a complete mess of a film, and I think this movie kind of exposes that. But having said that, I enjoyed the first 3/4 of this film more than I did Get Out and Us. It was the ending that really wrecked it for me. Once that reveal was there with the creature, and it looked so bad, that lost me. I thought that he lost control of the film in the last quarter. All of his metaphors and subplots went out the window, and it just became a really bad B, C grade movie that would normally have gone straight to DVD.
Yep, I would totally agree. I mean, look, I thought at the end, the only thing that was in my head was, nope, nix, yet, nothing worth seeing here. And, I mean, okay, some creativity, some points for creativity. I'm giving Nope, which is M-rated and runs for 2 hours and 10 minutes, a 4 out of 10. Dave?
I'm giving it a 6 out of 10. I did like the first 3/4, but I thought Peele lost control of the film.
Peter?
Not of planet Earth. Is that what Nope stands for? And there's some conjecture about that. And I agree about the issue of the beast and taming the beast. I think that there are elements that run through that. I think that it's a film of ideas. It doesn't cohere necessarily, but it's a film that deserves to be seen and discussed and argued about, just like good artwork that doesn't necessarily dot all the I's and cross all the T's. So I give this film 7 out of 10.
Let's move on, J-Air, to